What's going on, guys? It's Hyperio, no life Pokemon player, and welcome to my journey of can I beat Pokemon HeartGold using only one Turtwig. The rules for a challenge are very straightforward. I can only use a single Turtwig in battle, HM slaves are allowed, I'm not allowed to use any items in battle, and no glitches or exploits are allowed. Johto is a brutal region for grass type, so it's more of a question what battles will be easy instead of which ones will be difficult. Every Johto leader except Chuck has a good matchup against grass types, so this is gonna be rough. Luckily, Turtwig doesn't have the worst stats for first stage Pokemon, with decent bulk and a usable attack stat, but for moves it only really gets Bite and Crunch as decent coverage, so many steel types are hard to deal with. On top of that, both Lance and Red have a great matchup against Turtwig as well, and all of that together will for sure make this a tough challenge, so let's just jump right into it. I obviously started by choosing Turtwig as my starter. I replaced Chikorita because that makes the most sense in my opinion. My Turtwig had a neutral nature, bashful, so we can bash on trainers in with it. Because I knocked out some wild Pokemon at the start, I had a very easy time against my rival, who I later named Sep after DashingSceptile. Link to his YouTube is in the description. While defeating all the Sages in Sprout Tower, my Turtwig learned Razor Leaf, a decent stab move especially early on. After that I took a shot at the first gym against Falconer and it didn't go well. His Pidgey lowered my accuracy by 2 stages and Johto easily finished us off with Gust. I decided to grind a bit and at level 17, Turtwig learned Curse. With that, I tried the Falconer fight again. After using Curse twice and getting my accuracy lowered twice, I took out the Pidgey. Johto took around 50% of his HP, but it could heal the backup with Roost. However, Roost makes the user lose their flying typing, so the third time he used Roost, Turtwig finally landed the Razor Leaf, which this time wasn't resisted by the flying typing, allowing it to OHKO and get us our first badge. On our way to the next gym, Turtwig learned Bite, and somewhere along the way I also picked up a Miracle Seed, which boosts the power of grass type moves. Bugsy was more difficult than I expected because he led with Scyther, so setting up with Curse was a bit trickier. After a couple runs I got this attempt where he didn't attack until turn 4 and Kakuna didn't poison me with Poison Sting. I used one more Curse against the Scyther expecting a U-turn and then killed both that and the Metapod with 1 bite each. Next up was a second rival battle against Sep, whose Ghastly could mess me up with Curse, but it went for Mean Look instead, and I went down to a single bite. Zubat was annoying with Supersonic, but after 2 curses and hitting itself in confusion, Turtwig took it down. Last was Quilava and it used Smokescreen twice, making us miss Bite both of those turns, but luckily we tanked the Ember and retaliated by one-shotting it with a third bite. For a third badge we had to fight Whitney with her infamous Miltank, but it actually was an easy fight. I could set up on Clefairy without much trouble, and besides some potion spamming, we quickly took down the Miltank as well. Before taking on Sep for the third time in the Burnt Tower, I made sure my Turtwig learned Synthesis, an amazing move in a run without items in battle. His Ghastly was a bit annoying with Confuse Ray, but he gave us an opportunity to knock him out because he went for Mean Look. I then set up to +6 attack and defense with Curse while staying alive by using Synthesis, and then easily OHKO the Zubat, Quilava and Magnemite. Yep, this is how this challenge is gonna go. Figure out on what Pokemon I can set up, and then destroy them. Against Morty, I didn't even need more than 1 Curse. Ghastly wasted its first 2 turns by going for Mean Look and Spite, so I could just click Curse once and then take out the rest of the team with 1 bite per Pokemon. Gengar did some damage with Shadow Ball and the first Haunter had me scared a bit when it used Curse. But the last Haunter used Mean Look, so we got our 4th badge. Short after the battle, Turtwig learned Crunch over Bite. Would have helped against Morty, but we beat him anyways. Next up was Chuck, the only gym leader I don't have a bad matchup against. Since he led with a physical attacker, Primeape, I could again pretty easily set up 4 curses, heal up with Synthesis and then OHKO his 2 Pokemon with Razor Leaves. After that I took on Olifine's Steel type specialist Jasmine, and this battle basically came down to luck. Her Magnemite would both paralyze and confuse Turtwig with Thunder Wave and Supersonic, which sometimes made it impossible to attack or even heal up with Synthesis for multiple turns, so this took a couple attempts to get set up. After 6 curses I took out both her Magnemite and the last was Steelix. Even with all the boosts, Razor Leaf only did 70%, but Armor Tail, which wouldn't have done that much because of the defense boost anyway, missed twice, so a second Razor Leaf did the job. The Ice-type Gym Leader Price was up next, and this definitely could have been a problem, but we got a bit lucky. Seal was an easy one-shot, and after Dilgon barely hung on and got healed back up, I got a high roll of Razor Leaf one-shotting Dilgon as well. His final Pokemon was Spider Swine, and this was where he got lucky. Razor Leaf almost got the kill and we dodged a Blizzard. giving us the opportunity to finish the job and get our 7th badge. Before we could battle the 8th and final gym leader, we had some Team Rocket shenanigans to deal with. First up was Petrol with his team of 5 coughing and 1 wheezing. Fortunately, we still had Spell's coughing even after 1 curse, and the attack boost allowed me to sometimes one-shot them with Crunch. The smoke screens his Pokemon through a Turtwig were pretty annoying, but nothing a couple retries couldn't solve, and none of his Pokemon did more damage than my Synthesis could heal up. Getting poisoned early on would be annoying, so I gave my Turtwig a Patchy Berry, but it didn't activate until the end of the battle, right before finishing his final coughing. After yet another curse sweep against Sep, which I'm not even gonna discuss, we had our last battle against Team Rocket. Archer had a good matchup, but again, since he led with a physical attacker, I could set up some curses before taking down his Houndour. However, after dropping Turtwig's accuracy, Coughing used haste to get rid of not only that drop, but also the curse boosts. Luckily I didn't get flinched by any of his Houndoom's Fire Fangs, so we managed to set up on his face until we could two-shot it with Razor Leaf, ending all of Team Rocket's shenanigans. Before taking on Claire, I quickly stopped by at the new part of Dark Cave, where I picked up the black glasses, which boost the power of Dark type moves. The Dragon Gym Leader left with Gyarados, against which I could safely set up curses because it only used Dragon Rage, and as you can guess, Turtwig outcoded Gyarados. Turtwig dodged a Fire Blast from Dragonair and one-shot it, so we had a lucky break there, and next was our ace, Kingdra. It dropped my accuracy, resulting into a missed Razor Leaf, so I had to take 2 Dragon Pulses before knocking out Kingdra, and there was still 1 Dragonair left. Luckily we could still take on 1 Dragon Pulse and heal back up with Synthesis, and with one last crunch we got our final badge. Before we could go to the Indigo League, we first had to battle the Kimono Girls with the first 5 evolutions. Most of them did less than half of my HP, so I could heal back up with Synthesis, but Flareon was a problem. Espeon, which was right before the Flareon, outsped my Turtwig and always did around a third of my HP with Psychic before I could kill with Crunch, so I was always in range for a Fire Blast from Flareon to finish me off. However, my mom had been buying all these berries for me during my playthrough, with some of them being Oka berries, reducing the damage from a super effective fire type attack, which I used to get through this battle. Our last battle against Sep started like usual. Curse against a Sneasel and then started doing some damage. Both Sneasel and Golbat went down without a problem, but then it got scary. First, he had evolved his Lava, so I gave Turtwig another Oka berry to take a Lava Plume from Typhlosion before KOing it. His Haunter then almost knocked us out with a critical Shadow Ball, which also lowered my special defense. Fortunately, I clicked Synthesis that turn, so we weren't done just yet, and then he used Mean Loke, so we still had a chance. After we took down Haunter with Crunch, he sent out Kadabra, and as we have seen him do many times before, he choked again, this time by going for Reflect instead of an attack. Just like Jasmine's Magnemite, Sep's Magneton was a bit annoying with Parafusion, but after a couple turns we broke through and ended the battle. Before I entered the Elite Four, I waited for it to be Sunday so I could get the TM for return, but I didn't immediately teach the Turtwig. This is how my Turtwig was looking before we took on the first Elite Four member. The sets aren't the best of course, but we might be able to do this at this level. As you could see, Turtwig was holding a choice card for the first battle, which my mom also bought for me. Will, the first Elite Four member, had 2 Xatu and the Jinx, which would normally outspeed us and do a lot of damage, but with choice card of Crunch I could outspeed and OHKO all of them. Executor hung on to one Crunch, but I dropped his defense, so the second one finished it even after a full restore, and Slower lived as well and went for Curse, trying to beat me in my own game, but after 2 more Crunches, it went down. After that battle, I replaced Crunch with Return and then challenged Koga. I honestly expected this battle to be a bigger problem. I could just set up against his Ariados, and although he poisoned me with Poison Jab, it wasn't badly poisoned, so I could heal back up without too much trouble if needed, and OHKO most of his Pokemon. The only one that could take a hit was Fortress, but it couldn't do anything back, so that was still not a problem. Bruno was up third, and he was definitely the easiest of the Elite Four. His Hitmontop did nothing to stop my Turtwig from setting up, and even though I got a bit scared when Hitmonchan hit us with a critical Fire Punch, it only did around half of my HP and the rest of the fight wasn't a problem at all. The last member of the Elite Four was Karen, and oh boy, this was the luckiest battle ever. At the beginning, Turtwig and Umbreon both set up, we with Curse and they with Double Team. When we were both maxed out, Umbreon used Confuse Ray, but somehow we didn't only break through Confusion, we also landed our first attack even though they were at +6 evasiveness. Murkrow was up second, and after a weak pluck, we again broke through Confusion. She then sent out her Houndoom but didn't attack with it and used Nasty Blood instead, while we again managed to hit our opponent. Her Vileplume then missed a 75% accurate stun spore while Turtwig sent out a Confusion and OHKO'd it, and that was Gengar, which missed a Focus Blast before getting one-shot by Razor Leaf. Yeah, this battle was insane. It was then time for a battle against Lance, the current champion. Like always, I got to max attack and defense against his first Pokemon, Gyarados, and then tried to sweep him. For some reason his Charizard used Shadow Claw and then his first Dragonite missed a Blizzard, so because of some luck we could knock out both of them without taking too much damage. Our Dactyl didn't do much either, so Lance was down to only 2 Dragonite. The first one had Fire Blast, which is why I gave my Turtwig an Oka Berry, letting us take one hit, and the last Dragonite didn't have much for us so we could take care of it without too much trouble, making us the new Johto champion. Even though my Turtwig is now in the Hall of Fame, he isn't satisfied with just conquering Johto. We still have the whole Kanto region left to discover. Most of the gyms there were pretty easy and some came down to just dodging a certain attack, so I will only be discussing Blue since he has the most diverse and generally the hardest gym team of the bunch, excluding Brush rock types of course. Before battling Blue, I caught a Snorlax to get his leftovers. Blue started with Executor, which always used Trick Room turn 1, but with one curse I was slower than him, so he then always reverted the Trick Room back because I just barely couldn't KO with one return. Because of Hypnosis, I didn't want to set up on Executor, so I just finished it and then actually set up against his Arcanine instead. Because of the defense boost from Curse, I could take his Flare Blitzes and slowly but surely set up to the max. After that, I this time didn't get flinched by Pidgeot, and both Gyarados and Rhydon weren't a problem either. Machamp confused us with Dynamic Punch and we somehow hit ourselves 4 times in a row, but eventually we broke through and got our 16th badge. Before I re-challenged Elite 4, I replaced Razor Leaf with Crunch by using the Mover Learner and the Bottle TM for Double Team with the points that I got from Volt or Flip. Just like last time, besides his Bronzong, which stalled me for a while, Will was a fairly easy sweep with Choice Scarf Crunch. And Coco was actually even easier than last type up until Toxicroak, which confused me with Swagger and then almost took me down with Gunk Shot, which also poisoned me, but luckily I didn't hit myself with Confusion twice in a row and finished the battle. As you can expect, I again just set up in Hypnotop's face and easily swept Bruno for the second time this challenge. I told you I was just gonna use this combination with Curse and Synthesis for the rest of the game. And as you guessed, I did the same for Karen. Just set up on our Weavile and then sweep. Honestly, if I didn't have Curse, I have no idea how I would have gotten to this point. However, I couldn't do the same thing for the Lance rematch. His first Pokemon, Salamence, has Flamethrower which did around half of my HP at level 100, so I needed something even more dirty. A double team. After beating Karen with her Spiritomb, I thought Turtwig double team over Crunch since I didn't need it anymore, and it then was just hoping that Lance missed most of his moves. After one double team, Salamence immediately missed a Flamethrower, so I could heal back up. At one point he had 2 Flamethrowers in a row while I set up Curse, but because of my leftovers I managed to live with 12 HP. After 6 double teams and 4 curses, I decided it was time to sweep. Charizard missed Flamethrower, so went down immediately afterwards. His Dragonite didn't even attempt to hit me on the first turn, and missed a Fire Blast on the second one, so I could knock it out with 2 returns. Gyarados lowered my attack a bit with Intimidate, so before continuing my sweep, I maxed out my attack with a couple more curses and then destroyed the Gyarados with a single return. Last tried to copy my strategy with Altaria, but I managed to land a return despite the evasiveness boost from Double Team, and his final Pokemon, Garchomp, couldn't do much to a +6 defense Turtwig, so I beat Lance for the second time. It was then time for the last thing to do in this challenge, a battle against the resigned Indigo League champion and living legend, Red. You can find him on top of Mount Silver where I was always hailing, which is a huge disadvantage for us. Because of the hail, I couldn't even beat his Pikachu. The hail basically cancelled out my leftovers recovery and it also limits the amount of health recovered by his Synthesis. Normally it heals 50% of your max HP, but in hail, rain and sandstorm it only heals 25% of your maximum HP. Even if I got insanely lucky with Pikachu missing Iron Tails over and over again, and I can set up with double teams and curses, there is still a third problem with hail. Blizzard will always hit, even if my +6 evasiveness. It just bypasses the accuracy check, and Lapras, Snorlax and Blastoise all have Blizzard. This means that even if I defeated Pikachu, there would still be no chance to win. So with this hail I say that this battle is impossible. So this is the end. Or maybe not. What if we could get rid of the hail? What you are currently seeing isn't hail. This is diamond dust. This overworld weather condition only occurs as a celebration of 2 special days of the year. The Ice of March, the 15th of March, and the retail release date of Pokemon Blue in Japan, the 10th of October. Outside of battle it looks very pretty, but inside of battle it does nothing at all. This means that I can set up while having leftover recovery, 50% of my HP heal with synthesis, and the blizzard can actually miss. So I fully set up with double team and cursing as a Pikachu, then dodged every single attack and OHKO'd all of Red's Pokemon, finishing this challenge. So to answer the question of can I beat Pokemon HeartGold using only one Turtwig, yes I can. I honestly wasn't planning on doing any solo runs because I thought it lacked strategy, but it was definitely more interesting than I thought with, for example, use of Oka berries, and I also like the challenge of managing your moves and TMs since they still break in this game. If you enjoyed this video, I have a playlist of other playthrough challenge videos linked in the description. Next month I will be attempting to beat Pokemon Black 2 while always using the worst move. I honestly have no idea how that will go, so it might change, but you can still expect a challenge video every last Sunday of the month. If you have any suggestions for future challenges, let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video, I'll see you next time, and of course, stay alive.